What's going on, everybody? This is dkdynamite, and today we're going to be talking about some huge reports about the next two Black Ops games, the return of content for Modern Warfare 3, plus even more. Definitely stay tuned. But before we jump into that, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, drop a like, and also as a reminder, we got plenty of brand new content going up over on dkdynamite.com for those out there that want additional coverage for multiplayer, Warzone, or even zombies, plus plenty of tweets every single hour on Detonated's Twitter. Now, it's obviously the start of a brand new year, which means we're getting a lot closer to the release of the next Black Ops game, rumored to release this October in 2024. I want to say after I cover a lot of Season 2 for MW3, I'll start pumping out even more Black Ops 2024 news roundups when it comes to what we know so far about maps, weapons, modes, characters, storylines, zombies, Warzone integrations. There's a lot that I want to get into when it comes to getting prepared and up to date with all current info and rumors on the next Call of Duty, but wanted to wait until an appropriate time, after I cover a good amount of MW3's post-launch. But I want to say later this month is going to be a really ideal time considering the Treyarch hype is really beginning to ramp up. But as of 24 hours ago, actor Michael Silverblatt, hope I said his name right, who was recently in the Hawkeye Disney Plus show, is apparently going to be playing a lead character in an upcoming Call of Duty game, and this is according to his actor profile. Now, it's unclear if this is for Black Ops 2024. It probably is, since they're likely not casting just yet for Black Ops 2025, or that could even be the case, but his role as of now is being kept under wraps, so a little unknown as to who he could be playing. It's obviously an original character, since right now it's a little bit unknown who the main crew is going to be for, let's say, Black Ops Gulf War. But if I had to guess, we're likely only going to see characters like Adler and maybe Woods, but they probably don't want to get too intertwined with any potential plot holes that may impact the canon of how Black Ops 2 works in the current universe. So we'll have to wait and see who Michael is going to be playing, but I'm sure in the next few weeks or even months, we'll end up seeing more castings pop up on the internet for the next maybe 2 Call of Duty titles. Now, before we continue, I just wanted to remind you about MitchCactus.com, where you can get assistance grinding camos, nukes, or schematics in MW3. These guys do not use unlock tools or any bannable methods and will actually help you play the game. Mitch Cactus is also supported by Trustpilot with over 10,000 verified reviews. You can use code Dynamite for a limited time to save 5% off your order. Now, what was really unexpected was earlier this morning, Insider Gaming put out a report talking more about Black Ops 2024 and even a bit about the 2025 Black Ops game. And essentially, I'll have the article linked down below, but the article went over the following details, which you guys may not be too happy about, but these updates are actually really important because they may have also been taken a little out of context. So first off, the campaign in the new Black Ops game will apparently feature open world elements similar to the open combat missions that we saw in Modern Warfare 3, and the campaign will reportedly have a fast travel like system with vehicles. Now, to our understanding, over the last year or so, based on Treyarch job listings, it was to be assumed that Treyarch was the developer working on the new Black Ops campaign. I mean, they haven't worked on a Black Ops campaign since what, BO3? I guess you could say BO4, but that one ultimately got canceled. They didn't make the campaign for Cold War, that was Raven. So apparently Raven is also returning to develop the new campaign for Black Ops 2024. I'm not opposed to that, since Cold War had a phenomenal campaign. Absolutely love the narrative, love the gameplay, love the design choices that they ended up making, so I'm not opposed to that, but a little bummed out that Treyarch isn't doing the campaign this time around. Maybe they're going to do the one for Black Ops 2025, but just didn't for some reason have time to do the Black Ops 2024 one. It's unclear, but according to Insider Gaming, Adler is also going to be returning. Now, I said it before, and I know Fajardi even said it on recent podcasts, Adler is essentially the new face of Black Ops, right? If they're following the same canon that we currently have for Black Ops, then it doesn't even make sense for Mason to be in Black Ops 2024 if it's focusing on the 90s, whereas you probably still could see Woods, but I think Adler is going to be inevitable. And they rounded out the article by saying that it is a rumored October 2024 release. So that's cool if the game is ready by then. I wouldn't mind them delaying it till November if they really have to ensure it's a polished game, but overall still looking forward to this new Black Ops experience, since it'll apparently be the first Call of Duty ever to have had a 4-year development cycle. Now, some other information when it comes to the open world combat experiences though is that there will still be some linear campaign missions. For those freaking out that the whole campaign's going to be open world, I don't think that'll be the case, but it's also worth mentioning that we're not going to be seeing reused assets, which means we're not going to be playing on little battle royale sections that we're going to see in the new Warzone map. It'll be completely original in terms of the assets, the layout, the environment. We're not just going to be playing on maps that you're going to start seeing in multiplayer or Warzone later on in 2024 or 2025. And I want to remind you guys about Desperate Measures, a mission that you're seeing footage of here in the background. That's a campaign mission in Cold War that utilized this open world, open combat type system that gave the player choice as to how they wanted to navigate through that environment environment, through the space, and through the mission overall. But don't forget that although the mission worked like that in Cold War, and there were a few other missions like this, the end of the mission became linear. I mean, the first half, or a good chunk of the mission, gave you the element of choice, but towards the ending of the mission, it became linear like a traditional campaign level. So even if we do see open world type elements in the Black Ops 2024 campaign, doesn't mean that we still can't have linear moments and sections of that mission after you do a couple of things in the order of your choosing. And then that doesn't mean that we're also not going to have actual linear missions that are traditional that kind of surround the open combat ones, right? Maybe the campaign starts off with 2 to 3 linear ones, then you have a couple open combat ones, then you go back to linear. That's probably how they're going to do it. But I think it's also worth mentioning that if they're going to bring back open combat for this new Black Ops game, and probably again in Black Ops 2025, that has to mean something. Clearly they've had a lot of time to work on this new Black Ops game. They wouldn't just bring these missions in for no reason at all if they weren't successful in a game like Cold War, which I definitely think they were, and if they weren't successful to some extent in Modern Warfare 3. If you guys are like, wait, DK, what do you mean by that? Those missions were very poorly received by a lot of people. I totally get that, and that's because the missions felt really undercooked, and we'll talk more about MW3's open combat later in this video because I want to touch back on that, but I do think a decent amount of people probably played those missions. They have some data behind the scenes suggesting that they were successful to a point, and if given more time to cook, could be even more successful for a Black Ops experience. So that's probably why they're bringing these back in. Now, as of right now, when it comes to Warzone, it's being rumored that Verdansk will be the map that we see this December with the integration with Black Ops 2024. And like I've been saying previously, I just don't really see that happening. It's probably going to be the case, but I think March 2025 works as a better release date to re-release Verdansk to kind of celebrate the 5-year anniversary of Warzone. I know they want to go along with the hype of OG Fortnite, how they just did it, but I just think it makes more sense to integrate with a big Black Ops themed Warzone map that Treyarch actually developed, and then a couple months later in March, you do the Verdansk re-release. You have that active for a limited time or permanently, whatever, but I'd assume when they bring Verdansk back, it's probably the Modern Warfare version that takes place in present day. Unless we do get a Verdansk 94 of some sort this December, I just don't know how that would make sense, and I doubt Verdansk is really a part of the Black Ops campaign. You would assume that you get to experience something to do with the new Warzone map in the Black Ops campaign in a mission or two, and that's the thing, right? If Verdansk does get integrated this December and we don't see Verdansk in the campaign, then people really wouldn't complain about the open combat, open world missions in the new Black Ops story, since they're not going to be on Verdansk anyway, so it's not like we're going to be seeing those levels again in any other game mode to our understanding. So let's just wait and see how they end up doing that. But then in the Insider Gaming article, they also go ahead and talk about the sequel to Black Ops 2, the current Call of Duty that's rumored for 2025, that will reportedly feature a bunch of remastered maps from 2012 Black Ops 2. Well, apparently that game does not have a lead developer just yet. Charlie Into followed up by saying that they had heard previously High Moon may have been the lead at one point, but with the recent layoffs, that's probably unlikely now. But that game will also apparently have an open world campaign with several different biomes and locales. So something that I don't want to see is an experience where it's just one big map, let's just say it's a Warzone one, and you could spawn into that map within campaign, and then it's your job to just drive to certain POIs to initiate certain objectives and missions, and then that's your campaign. I still want it to be traditional to a point where you have a mission selection list. I mean, if you are new to the game, then you have to kind of go through those in order, and some of them are linear missions, and then other ones, you know, throw you into a big space where you have the option to choose how you want to do objectives like we saw in MW3 or Cold War. I just wouldn't want to see it to where the campaign only focuses on one big locale and you just kind of travel to POIs as if it's Warzone or DMZ to do missions. Hopefully that's not how it's structured, but with the fact it doesn't have a lead developer yet, that is kind of concerning, because do they force Treyarch to kind of step off of Black Ops 2024 right after the game comes out, which would hurt the post-launch for that game, and then they have Treyarch lead developer on Black Ops 2025? Or do they do something like what we saw with MW3 and carry forward? We have a different studio kind of piggyback off of a game that's already out in collaboration with the original lead developer, which in this case would be Treyarch, and then they help work on a direct sequel to the game that just came out, and they work on more content. If they could figure something out to where it doesn't hurt the post-launch and support for Black Ops 2024, then this 2025 game doesn't bother bother me, especially when you think about how it'll have a bunch of remastered content day one. That's going to sell well. That'll do well, I think, for the entire COD community as well, but hopefully it doesn't impact what Treyarch is currently working on. But I want to end this video off by talking about MW3's open combat issues. The thing is, I think on paper, the idea of open combat is excellent. Would I want to see every campaign mission be open combat? Definitely not. Cold War did a good blend where, for the most part, a lot of the campaign, if not nearly all of it, is linear, but then there's the occasional mission here and there where you have the element of choice. You have the freedom to either do some side missions. You have the freedom to navigate through desperate measures the way that you want to. Totally down for stuff like that, so I wouldn't be surprised if what Insider Gaming is talking about is just referring to maybe one or two missions that they've heard of from their sources, or whatever the case is. Maybe what they've discussed in the article they dropped today doesn't apply to the entire Black Ops campaign, meaning that most of it will still be traditional, but there will be the occasional open combat mission here and there. MW3's issue was that there just wasn't enough substance in those open combat missions. There wasn't enough to do or a reason to go back and do them again later in different ways. It just felt like the missions were trying to be linear, but because they ran out of dev time, they had to kind of throw in something that would kind of act as quote-unquote filler, or would act as something that seemed really replayable, but in reality, it just really didn't feel that way. And I think the cool thing about Desperate Measures from Cold War was that you were able to do things differently in each playthrough. You were able to decide which route you wanted to go, which would actually impact the narrative of that mission, giving you the element of choice with how you wanted to proceed with the story. MW3's open combat didn't really let you do that. It was kind of like, hey, there's 4 objectives to do in this big space, choose what order you want to do them in, and that's not something that I think players really want to see all that often. But I think with a reasonable amount of time to cook open combat missions, there's a lot of potential replayability from them, especially if you're going for Platinum Trophy, but I just don't think MW3 was the best example of it. However, Activision might have data to suggest that players, or casuals at least, that weren't complaining on Twitter and Reddit or YouTube really did like the idea of those missions, and maybe they see that there's potential to bring them back again, especially for a game as big as Black Ops. But that is about it. This has been dkdynamite. Leave our thoughts down below in the comment section. Obviously, take all rumors with a grain of salt, of course. The information could be out of date, could be subject to change. Who actually knows? But overall, I still have high hopes that we're going to be getting a banger sequel to Black Ops Cold War, especially if it's being made from Raven. I have high confidence in what their team is going to be able to do, but I also think there will be a lot of linear traditional experiences in this campaign and even in the Black Ops game in 2025, but maybe there is a couple of missions, hopefully 3 or 4 tops, that incorporate these open world elements. But even if we get something like that, it'll end up being in original spaces, not on reused assets or maps that we're going to be seeing in other game modes. Really hope you've enjoyed, and peace out, everybody.